to stream us live.
One day I'll remember that I don't have a touch screen.
Oh, have you been?
Oh my goodness. I am seeing us. Oh,
And I will be checking. I will be checking our YouTube
chat
to make sure that we've got any comments that come up. We'll be able to answer in real time.
Yeah, we are live.
Woo!
Sweet. And
So,
you're going to be live with Miss Jamie.
well, welcome back to Cardslingers. We're live, and so far nobody's here. It's just us. However, we've got a special guest. So we are currently doing, well, hang on, let me start the recording for
Yeah, don't forget to start the recording.
yeah. Okay, I'm gonna do that, but yeah. All the buttons. All the buttons.
Way to go.
Yeah, we started a YouTube live on this, which is great because this is foreshadowing for everything we're going to be doing in 2026. However, today we are going live, and this will be released the normal first slot in August. For our audio listeners, we have a special guest, and his name, is Charles Harrington, who used to be a podcaster himself over at Tarot Visions. And he has written a wonderful, wonderful, fun, intellectual, challenging. The tech writer in me loves this book, loves this company. It is the one and only Tarot and Oracle card reading for Dummies by the Wiley company. I guess there's still the Dummies brand as well. So welcome on to our wonderful little crazy podcast, Charles.
Long-time listener, first-time caller. Thank you so much for having me.
That's so wild to me that like you're a listener. Now I feel like bad.
No, you guys are great.
I just found out that my mother-in-law, Mandy, listens to our podcast. So hi, Mama.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
We'll pull a card for her.
Oh, yes, we can totally do that. We've got decks around us, and we have some new decks with us, so we can totally do that.
So, Charles,
hey,
what made you say yes to this book?
I mean, okay, when I was a kiddo, for Dummies was a really important part of any household that had a computer. You had DOS for Dummies and Windows for Dummies, like the sacred first two books, and they were the premise of For Dummies is, a reference for everyone, and that you're going to have complex information shared with you in a very friendly way. It's as if a smart friend is explaining it to you, is the style that they have mastered. And we have, powerful resource. I still remember in first copy of DOS for Dummies, there's a line that's like about the space bar. No, not your favorite scene in Star Wars. And there's still that charming. And I think that's later in the 90s, early 2000s, movies and films started to like use the For Dummies books as sort of a joke, like in Child's Play, he's reading Voodoo for Dummies or something like that to raise the dead. And I think that people started to get the wrong impression about what these are supposed to be. Like these are books that are going to help you and make you smarter. And so I'm a huge fan of their work. I have numerous For Dummies, yes, like bartending and container hot plants for Dummies over here.
Learning made easy. It's right there on the cover, guys.
Yes, it is. And it is. And the best thing, when you become an author, they send you a book called Writing a For Dummies book for Dummies.
Dude, I want that. I think we all, like you, Charles, I grew up with the Dummy series and the Idiots guides. I used to collect the Idiots guides just because, I thought being an idiot was better than being a dummy. But like, I remember back in the day when they also used to put comics, little comic strips, either one panel or two panel in these books. I can't even remember what my first Dummies book was, but I know that I also had the original. They used to have a Tarot for Dummies book.
Yeah.
And I don't have it anymore, but it had wonderful questions on the cards. And so I used to use that a lot. But again, like, for text stuff, it made sense to call it Dummies. And I remember a lot of people were really, adamant when they started branching out into like finances for dummies, or, tarot or Wiccan for dummies. People kind of got a little bit more, precious and kooky about it all.
People can be very concerned about that. I understand that impulse, but I don't know. It's good stuff. And so one little funny little for Dummies lore, every For Dummies book has those 4 icons, remember, technical information, tip, and warning. And a few books, very, very few, get to have their own unique, there it is, their own unique icon. And I'm very proud that this one got a unique icon, which is just, it's in the cards, which marks like anything that's a technique or an exercise for you to actually do and play with, and there's a lot of them. You get so it'll mark that, so you know that that's there. And like, whatever else happens with the book, wow, I have added to the lexicon of For Dummies icons. So I'm very proud.
I had someone leave kind of a snarky remark on it, because I was like, hey, this is by my buddy Charles, it's Tarot for Dummies, blah blah blah. And they were like, that's the worst thing I've ever seen. And I said, Reddit, have you? Because I have. And they comment nicely. But that's kind of like I get really frustrated when I say to people, I want people to learn tarot. Not like that. It's that backhanded bullshit gatekeeping.
Yeah.
Especially chapter 15 was my favorite. The last ones that I learned at the table. Because I mean, if you could make a whole book of those, if you read it, they will come. Some people have tarot trauma. Like, all of those things are lessons that you learn as you are a reader. And I think that chapter is invaluable for new readers, because they can see what's coming. Do you want to read for your psycho aunt? Probably not. Probably not. And why can't I be a professional tarot reader 2 weeks out of the gate? Give yourself some time. That's excellent advice. Just chill on it a little bit. I think that everything that you wrote in here is perfect for a new or an older reader who wants to relearn a different perspective on the cards, which is what we all keep doing daily anyway, but I think it's a fantastic book, and I've recommended it to 2 or 3 of my new clients already.
Oh, golly. Thank you so much. I think that what's interesting is for Wiley, a lot of times when you write a book, you write the whole book and then you send it, and then they look at it with you. For this book, every single chapter by chapter, like, we're laying down the track as the train is going, and it means you get to work really closely with your editing team, which is, they're fantastic, and and they're wonderful. Shout out to Nicole and Nina and everybody. But what they're really good at doing is making sure that, like, every single little tiny well, first, everything's sort of bite-sized. All information is like condensed into as like concise a section as it can be, and they will make sure that no section refers to something that the reader has to find anywhere else in the book, because, as y'all know, most tarot books are not read cover to cover. This one certainly can be, but it's it really made me a smarter writer to have to think about that, about like, actually, I can't count on the fact that you've read the tarot history section, so I can't just throw something out there about triomphe parades later in the, and when I'm talking about the chariot, that all has to, I have to be able to point to where they need to go for that information, and it's just a very exciting thing. Also, their style, just it's a fun style to read in, because to make it more approachable, it's never one must think about, or we all, it's you. It's you're only speaking directly to the person sitting down there with you, metaphorically, absolutely.
I like that.
Yeah. Those are 2 things that I like. So, can't remember if I talked about it in the past. Listeners will have to go back, but in my previous life, I was a technical writer. So the tech writer in me, of course, loves books like this, because it shows the development of a good manual, a good structure, where you write in what's known as chunking, where each little piece is a small little snippet of everything. And, of course, it can be dry, like, hold down this button and do this to reboot your system, or it could be fun. And that's what I like about not just, your book, Charles, but your voice in general, which is so perfect for this format where you get to throw in those little asides like, back in high school, I did this too, or other things. And
Yeah.
I do love that it's written in that second person format where you're talking to the you. You're literally at a table, either your reader's table or, our kitchen table, sitting down with one person or maybe a couple of yous going through all this. And it's that really good conversational style. It's one of the reasons why I hate Melissa's book, because I could hear her in the book. I could hear her in the book, and I love that. And here, I mean, I get, especially in the little asides that you put in, or these little things. I'm like, yep, that's my buddy. That's Charles. And I could see
Oh,
you,
thank you.
as if you were talking. So I really love that. And it's cool that you mentioned that they had their own system. Like they sent you a book on how to write these. And again, I think Wiley, if you're listening, can we all have a copy? Because I want to see it.
Yeah,
We all
please.
send it to you.
It's like that you sent them chapters or snippets, and that got me thinking again, the tech writer in me, because everybody's got their system. Like I used to, like when I wrote for HP, I would have to pull snippets out, and I got to add to the lexicon like maybe 2 sections because they already had certain structures. But did you have to write in a system that they already had set up so like they could constantly see what you were doing?
Yeah, a lot of time. Well, so other books, things they have written, I send like a text file that has the words. Wiley, there's not time for all of that. So you are sent, they have a very well put together template, Word doc, and you're doing everything in the all of the formatting as you go along, which was fascinating and cool. And it made me see how this was going to look on the page, and it like in a way that I had not gotten to do before, and it allowed me to be like, oh, okay, actually this could look better here, or this is enough information, there. And also sending chapter by chapter meant if there were mistakes I made at the beginning of the process, I didn't make them in the next chapter that I wrote. So I was like, oh, I'm getting smarter as I go. This is fantastic.
The book is working already.
Yeah.
It's
And also
a
my
book.
secret, well, my secret power is that my day job, I'm an internal communications person. So I already write in the second person, and I already imagine that you have no other information and need me to tell you everything you need to do. And I'm also have to tell you why you have to do it. So that helped, I think, prepare me for this one.
Which I think.
Oh, who's going first? Shit.
Go ahead.
Usually we just talk over each other, but we're trying to use our manners today. I love the thing that you did about the reversals. You went through exactly how to do it, and this is the thing, and yes, it's kind of a pain in the ass, and at the end you're like, and here's the good news, you don't have to do it. You got all the way through this, and it can be really challenging. I have a new client, hey Taylor, in Chicago, and he was like, I don't understand reversals. I'm like, don't read them. And he was like, wait, what? And it was just like such a relief that he didn't have to memorize both sides of the cards. So I love that you put all of the detail on how to do it, and then you're like, or you could just bounce.
As a matter of fact, I was so bold as to say, if you just started, don't read reversals yet. I use reversals. They keep me honest. I think they're very powerful. It's all of that is in the book, and also like why to and why not to. But not today, Satan, if it's your first book.
Word.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, like, we've had a couple of episodes mentioned on reversals, and I keep telling people in my personal practice or my private practice, which is where I, talk to clients, I don't use it because I don't want them, especially since it's all on Zoom, seeing a card reverse is a little bit harder to see on a screen. So I always use it. Yeah, as Hillary's demonstrating, turning the head, doing this. So I do them all upright because I co-create readings with with the clients, and I take the notes. They're talking, doing much of the talking. Plus, the fact that we have the talent and the tech now to record stuff. They get a recording, so they I want them engaged in the material and focused on what's going on. But yeah, in my personal practice, which is just when I read for me and do learnings or go to conferences or, where I listen to Charles and Melissa and Hillary on stages and stuff, yeah, I'll play reversals.
Mhm. When I was writing the section on why not to use reversals, I actually went into the web, into the internet, and to see different discussions of why people hate reversals, because I thought I'd start there. And one of the main ones was people who read intuitively don't want to look at the pictures upside down. And I thought, like, well, that makes sense. If it's a little harder to make those connections. And of course, a truly talented reader can use the context clues in the question, all of the other information to figure out which aspect of the card they're thinking of, they're looking at. As a less talented reader, I need that extra help that the reversal provides. So
you like the visual of the reversal, right?
I think
I
that
really
they're
enjoy the effect of gravity. Like I like to affect, like if the Three of Swords is upside down, the swords are still there, but they're sliding out very slowly, and they're going to leave scars behind. So how do you behave when that happens?
Or the reversed hangman is flying free, and the
Or-
reversed devil, the chains fall away. That's
Or
there's some cards you want reversed,
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Like the Four of Coins, the guy's holding on so much, we turn upside down. It's
Letting
like all that
everybody
shit's
in.
gonna slip. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Windfall.
So-
So what part of writing the book surprised you? Like what did you learn that surprised you?
So there are a lot of things when you've been reading for a certain number of years, everyone in this room, you kind of forget how you knew to do that. And I think in some tarot books, intentionally or not, play hide the ball a little bit with some of that information, and they'll just say, as you can see, this card next to this card clearly means this. And I always look at them like, where's the math? So I wanted a chapter that was just about like, where do the meanings come from in a reading, not like the tradition or anything like that, but where, like, when you're sitting down in this reading, how do you arrive at a specific meaning? And as opposed to just reading aloud the guidebook and being like, how does this apply? And so I got to create what I call in the book the equation of meaning, which is not as heady as it might sound. It's just the couple of 4 or 5 factors you put together every time you look at a card in a spread. So that's like, what is the question? So if you're doing if you're doing a reading about a project at work and the Empress shows up, like the question means you can discount, like, this isn't about motherhood or fertility or those sorts of things. It's probably gonna be more about creativity, nurturing, those aspects. So it's like a lot of times readers will say, I asked about my love life and the cards told me about my career. And I'm certain that happens, but I think sometimes people feel that happens because they've pigeonholed certain cards as like, this is a money card, this is a love card. And I think the equation of meaning is a way to quickly, it's like an instant process when you know it, sort of instant, process of arriving at the useful meaning for this card in this reading. Does that make sense?
Right. It's providing more context. It's trying to give a more specific answer to the question that's actually being asked. Like, this is the reason why I like to study other divination systems, like the Lenormand, for example, where it's just like, go back to the question, but what is it you were actually asking?
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, yeah. So many readers, no one in this room, but so many readers, they when they get asked a specific question and they take that time, they what they heard is, tell me about my spiritual growth, and they get lots of advice about how to be a more profound being. And I think, like, but I just want to know if the job interview like went well.
Yeah.
And so it's like, are you answering the question?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I had a great reading a couple of weeks ago. The client's question was, am I the asshole? That was
nice.
With, and I was like,
AITA.
oh yes, you are the asshole, honey. You built the dam, you have to kick it down. And he was like, shit.
But so you can answer the question. See, I love that though, Melissa, because you answer
for
the question.
self-awareness, right?
Well, I mean, but it is. They want to know, are they the asshole? You said yes. And yet the rest of that reading can be like, and here's why. These cards,
here's
why these cards?
Here's how not to be an asshole now.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, it was a great reading.
Yeah. And we're talking about chapter 8, just FYI to everybody. The working with the equation of meaning.
Turn your hymnals to
to page 105 of this lovely text that we're all, gushing over.
Oh my goodness. Another fun thing was I felt like in a book like this, you have to tackle the question, why does this work? And it's, I've always got to be like, maybe somehow the universe, great. But in this one, I went on I like comprehensive search, or like, what is everyone's theory? Because this book has to be for people who believe in the woo and the magic and the supernatural and prediction. And it has to also be for people who have a more atheistic worldview and want the cards to help them like more creatively associate and problem solve by disrupting their normal pattern of thoughts with the tarot. And so I had to like, okay, here are each of the models of the universe that may be in play here. You now can choose which ones, multiple, that you are interested in following. So that was a fun thing as well. I'd be like, well, how the hell does this work? Like,
I don't know. I'm just making it up usually when I write about it.
I think I put a little of that in my first book, Tarot Inspired Life, which is now out of print.
Fabulous
but
book.
I know that I
have
also
signed copy.
Oh yes, and I know I have a blog post on my site about like my perspectives, but I love that you've added into that lexicon, because again, this is a lot of what Charles has in this book. And the way that Wiley maybe forced him to write this, but it turned out beautifully, is to demystify the myths, demystify everything. Hey, Shannon.
Yeah, I see.
My good buddy Shannon from up here. But there's so much in this that, like you were saying, Charles, a lot of us, wrote our books the way we did. But we forgot to bump it up a notch, that 10,000-foot view. And again, as an intro book, or even you can use this as an actual workbook in a school setting, perhaps, to get everybody on the same page, to have them start thinking critically about tarot. And why does this shit work? As somebody that you and I both admire, Thalassa says this shit works, or this stuff works.
It do that.
It does. It really does. But it's hard for a lot of readers to explain why, whether it's synchronicity, or I like to use the disco ball metaphor of 78 panels with, and whatever
78
the light
facets.
And whatever the light shines on it at that moment, it happens to be, or the stars have aligned and Cthulhu has risen, and what you get in the reading is the wisdom from the ages.
I would be the least bit surprised if that fucking happened.
Well, I think it's kind of wild that sometimes the combination of books that I'm reading, because I'll usually read, no less than 5 books at the same time, which don't
fucking Aries.
I get bored real quickly. So I've been reading your book, Charles, alongside A Walk Through the Forest of Souls. And so I think it's so amazing that it's just like, okay, here's my take on how tarot works. Here's Rachel's take on how tarot works. And it's all like kind of coalescing in my mind in the same place and space and time. But I just think it's very intriguing that we're like starting to take a look at, like, yes, it does work. Like, obviously, for all of us in this room, like, clearly we've been doing this for a while because it does work. But why? Let's see if the tarot can answer why, or let's see if, worldviews can answer, like, this does work, but why does it work? How does it work?
And to be clear, it's several theories. I haven't like solved it for anyone, but it's
right.
But Walk Through the Forest of, or the Forest of Souls. I know 78 Degrees of Wisdom is a sacred text, but to me that is Rachel's opus, and it taught wisdom reading. It was something we all got to see her do, and just it's bold enough to have, here's the tarot reading that God used to create the universe. I mean, show me a bolder, take by a tarot author.
But before reading, that the first edition, which was just, I think it was just Walk Through, or The Forest of Souls.
The Forest of Souls.
Yeah, The Forest of Souls, the first edition. But I had not thought about that stuff because I had instructors tell me that, you could only use the cards once a day for yourself, and, blah, blah, blah. And that's
can't
why
buy your own deck.
Oh, golly.
That's please do not steal decks, folks. Please do not steal a deck. It's just
Yes, we love our new age stores. Please don't make their lives harder by stealing decks.
If you need a deck, I will, I have many. I will give you one.
Yeah.
For my personal
come to
collection.
Jamie's house.
Yeah. Come to my house.
Friends comes by. I am a few decks lighter.
But yeah, it's amazing to know that a lot of that stuff's still going around. Like I'm firmly Gen X, and this is stuff like, I think, I was told, don't let anybody touch your cards. It has to be purple or black silk. Purple or black silk only. Now it's whatever cloth, but purple or black silk only. You got to wrap it, and it has to be raw silk or something, and put it under your pillow for 30 days so you bond with it. You got to lick each card. I don't know. It's we all have these great myths, but it's just funny here in 2025 that a lot of them still exist, even with the technology boxes and the internet and these fantastic books that everybody has written, including Charles, Tarot and Oracle for Dummies by now. Shannon has not yet read it, but she is very interested in it. And
good taste, Shannon.
Yes. And Shannon goes to the Northwest Tarot Symposium. So
Right.
And which is coming up in like a month or something, a month and change now.
There is a quote, and I can't remember the name of the author. He wrote a book. I go to used bookstores and get tarot books from like the 60s and 70s.
Wow.
So it's one of those authors that I have, and I'll have Jamie put it in the show notes later. But his very first premise is tarot is a machine. You put in a question and an answer pops out. And if you take it down to that basic physics of what a reading is, and you apply this excellent user manual to it, you can add all of the foof and spirituality and all of the stuff in later in layers if you want. But having the basic knowledge of what to do with your tarot card is invaluable. So this book is gonna be one of my top recommendations for people.
That's okay.
Because it's no bullshit, and I appreciate that. If you want to add bullshit in later, go ahead.
That's when you read her book. No.
Yeah, that's when you read my book. It's my
no.
Start with Charles.
Start with Charles. No.
Go to Melissa's and then go to mine.
Actually, what I want to say is one of the greatest tarot audiobooks out there is Kitchen Table Tarot, because the narrator has such a warmth to her, and like as a tarot reader, you just want to listen to it. So she's a beautiful. She does a real good job. She does a real good job.
Yeah, I can't listen to it.
Audiobook?
Yeah.
It's an audiobook? Oh God.
So good.
It's so disgusting, right? No, I mean,
I probably wouldn't be able to do that because I read, like Jamie was saying before, I read Kitchen Table Tarot in your voice, Melissa. So I'd be like, it would be very jarring for me to.
It is weird hearing someone you haven't met say the words of someone you have met. And that.
Yeah, I can't listen to it. It freaks me out.
But if you don't, it's a one. Okay, so as someone who did listen to it, it is.
But it's wonderful.
She's a warm. Sensitive take, and it actually it's a very warm and sensitive book because it really meets people where they are in this moment, and it asks the tarot reader to really consider, it's easy for us to just spout out, you just do this, do that, and solve your life, and it really challenges us to consider like what's possible for this person, what's the struggle, and understanding that, and her voice is very compassionate. I think it matched it well.
Oh,
and there she goes.
Take that.
You left her. Okay, Melissa does not get speechless that often, and you have done it. You have done it, Charles. You have made
Oh,
her.
golly. Yep. Okay.
She's got to hold
Technical
the book up
difficulties.
now.
Yeah.
Yep. Beep.
Um, Something that was also so, as Jamie, you mentioned earlier, there was a first edition Tarot for Dummies. There was a book. This isn't, oh, it's not first edition. It's a different book, Tarot for Dummies, that was written about 20 years ago. And so for this one, it couldn't have that same title. So before I came on, they had been kicking around some ideas. And this one is Tarot and Oracle card reading for dummies, because they read the amazing people. Wiley had heard that that's also a thing. That was so much fun to dive into because, as I confess in the book, there's just one way anyone reads an Oracle deck, which is they pull one card, they open the book, they read the chapter aloud, they put it away, and they don't remember it. And that was, if I go through I was going through my tarot journal to find like my Oracle readings, like what does I do? And I'm like, oh, heavens to Murgatroyd, I don't do that because because Oracle readings, for good reason, are on rails. It's an on rails experience. They're just going to straightforward tell you a bit of advice. Usually, mostly that's what they do. It made me
Chapter 11
get to think about like, how do we, the experts, like use Oracle cards, and how can you use Oracle cards? And I think the most fun part of that chapter for me was also sometimes Jamie has experienced this as well. Sometimes when you're writing a guidebook, you receive an art file and nothing else, and you just get that. And so you have to use, when you go to these tarot conferences, we learn all these techniques and we do these things. We put two cards together, and I've had people ask me, like, do you really read like that? I'm like, well, no, but this is like the strength testing and exercising and training you do, so that in the chair, in the moment, you can do these things. Well, all of those techniques and exercises are something that guidebook authors have to use, because they get the art file and they have no information. They don't know why this card has a monkey holding, a pint glass, and so they
and there's no names.
There's no name. You get to name it. That's the good thing. You get to name them.
Yeah.
So
you get to provide the structure.
Yeah. So there's all these techniques that we use anyway to come up with the official meaning, and those are all techniques that readers can use for to find their own meanings, And so, like, one of the easier, like, just not to be too infomercial, and like to actually give people something, like one of them, you have to ask yourself questions. Like, if you're stuck and you're struggling and you're like, why is this image, like, what does it mean? Well, I can't figure out what it means. Well, like, then don't start there. Ask yourself, like, what do you think happened right before this scene? What might happen after? Why is this person holding that item? What seems to be going on between these? These are all questions that guidebook authors have to ask themselves, and they also work in the reading. It's a chicken and egg thing.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because that was something I wanted to hopefully touch on and discuss. Because Oracle, I mean, it's all divination, right? And that's kind of like the modality that I moved into, I don't know how many years ago, but like, all the books are out for tarot. We know more about tarot structure. We know more about card meanings. Who knows what about the cards, where it might have come from, Egypt or Atlantis, obviously, no, we know about the real history. We know that it started as a game. Spoiler alert, tarot was a game in the beginning, like a trick-taking game.
Still is if you're French.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
I know, right? Like the tarot deck, like the French tarot deck they released for the Olympics. I was able to get a copy, and it sits in a box. Yeah, I got a copy of it.
Dang.
Because maybe that'll be another like show and tell moment or something. Another live or something for that. But Oracle is always seen as either a gentler version, a non-Devil's Uno deck. Where you've got light and, it's all light and fluffy and angels or animals or, et cetera, et cetera. But Lenormand, I don't read Lenormand much because it kicks my fucking ass. Every single time I pull that deck, it's like me talking. It's like most people or Hollywood pulling out an Ouija board. When I really need to know something, or don't want to know, but have to know, those situations, I'll pull Lenormand. But I like Oracle because I do so much with it. I can use it as a talisman. I can, thematically theme a tarot reading for the day or something, and people forget that, and you even talk about this, combining the cards together.
Oh, yeah.
oh my, you
They're
know?
cousins. They hang
Yeah.
out. They're
Yeah.
fam.
But a lot of people, like, our first exposure to them at least for me, was like the more artsy deck where they slap like Brian Froud images or Amy Brown images, fairies in a deck. And then somebody who doesn't even know the art or that the, fairy or folklore behind it barfs out stuff that may or may not mean it. And that's why I talk about a structure of an oracle, because you have to have a structure, especially when they give you, the company, one of the companies that Charles and I works for, it just gets the images, and it's like, do they even have an idea of what they want? Well, my first question,
the guidebook.
Yeah,
a lot of times with an oracle deck, you need the guidebook. Otherwise, you're completely lost. The only oracle that I've ever used that I don't need the guidance, but it is there, is the Tessera Oracle, which is charms. And you kind of can mix and match, and then you can wear them. That's like the only oracle deck I can like pull from. It does have a structure, and I think I just memorized the structure and then started to add intuitive hits on top of it. But you need the guidebook. You do. I'm just watching Melissa's face this entire time, because Melissa does not like oracles.
It's funny.
Well,
and that's fine too. I mean, like you say in your book.
Sometimes tarot readers, we get a little snooty about those
I am
oracle
absolutely
decks.
not. I'm like, it doesn't have 78 cards. I don't want anything to do with it.
How dare you? 52? Come back to me when you have a real deck.
I will say this, though, that I like oracles to have 52 or more cards, because if I want to pull an oracle a week, you get that. I'm done with the unless it's Letterman, I'm done with
34,
36, 44 card things, because it doesn't fit, my snooty, desires. But
Desires, the name of Jamie's next book.
So,
dude, that would be cool. I'm gonna write that down. Actually, snooty desires.
Something that I think is a challenge. Okay, I love oracles, and what for me, a reason I respect them. And there are things, and the memes can be true, but one of the things I respect about them is when I worked in a New Age bookstore, the cool aunts who would come in to get their like cool niece or nephew like a mystical gift. They couldn't get them a tarot deck sometimes, but they could get them like healing with the angels.
It is a gateway drug.
Yeah,
oracles are a gateway to tarot. You're right.
But yeah,
like I think the pusher with the trench coat.
I think that they have a strong bias is something that you really have to be aware of, and we talk about that we talk about that in the book. The oracle decks, more than anything else, have because tarot, we've decided it represents the complete universe, and we've spent a lot of time filling in all the corners of the tarot as where everything is, and but oracle decks aren't beholden to that, and so you have to investigate the bias of your oracle. So just for example, this Odyssey Oracle that just came out from Los Scarabeo, that maybe I wrote the guidebook
who's
too.
that by?
Well, hello. Yes, me. I love the Odyssey. I've read 3 translations of the Odyssey. I know from the Odyssey, the best one's Emily Wilson. It's very good. It's recent. It's straightforward and plain English, but in verse. Anyway, So here's the thing. This Oracle deck has a bias insofar as each image can only be a moment from Odysseus's story. So there's things that are not going to be in this book. Yeah. So for example, just in this one, there's not really a card about giving up and stopping. There's a card about taking a break, when he gets to the Isle of the Lotus Eaters, but that's not something that this deck is going to tell you. So you have to know that going in with any of your Oracle decks. Like there's a lot of girl power oracles out there, goddesses, battle goddess kind of warrior goddess thing, and they have a certain message to share, but they also have messages that they don't get into. For example, I've never found one of those lady power oracles that say like, maybe you shouldn't trust your own mind right now. Maybe you're wrong about
Am I the asshole?
Am I the asshole? And it's not that those decks are bad or inadequate. It's just that there's some things they don't contain, and you need to know that if you're going to read with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's a really, really good point that I don't think I've heard before, or at least not publicly. So thank you for saying that.
it's just they have their strengths and they also have their weaknesses. But also bias is really fun to get into. I have a section on bias in the book, and like my little sermon about that is that if every time you read the cards, your reading sort of sounds the same, maybe there's a bias going on in there. Just for example, there's a certain reader I really respect, but their reading is sort of like style is usually that this person is naughty and we must follow the rules. And whenever you're naughty, it's a problem. But if you follow the rules, you get back on track. And that seems to be their bias when the Seven of Swords is right there telling you to like maybe just lie and steal if you need to for this metaphorically. Well, I maybe lying's the thing you can do.
Sorry, there's some shit going down with the cats.
So I was at Newt's last year, and there was a great presentation by Katiara Marie, and she had, for each card, she had us thinking about like 5 questions, different things like what should I do, what should I not do? But one of them was like, will they get back together with me? Our favorite question to get from a querent.
Yes.
And 100% of the, because I knew this was coming, 100% of the responses to that question, no matter what the card was always, no, he's not coming back to you. And I looked this up. 50% of breakups get back together.
That's
I
really
can't remember who did that
interesting.
study.
Not that I've ever experienced that in the past.
Tarot readers are so biased against that question because we've gotten it, and like we have the crying person, and I've been the crying person on the phone. But sometimes people get back together, and I think that if you have if someone asks you the question and you've decided what the answer is before you shuffle the deck, then you're not maybe sharing the tarot's wisdom, maybe you're sharing your advice. Does that make sense? Am I being unfair?
It does. No, it's true.
Holding up a mirror to people, like you said, experts earlier, and then you kind of laughed because you don't consider yourself an expert for some reason. But we've all been doing this for 25 years or more. And experts need to be taught too. You know what I mean? Because I hadn't considered my bias like at all, because I'm like, should you get back together? X's are X's for a reason. Bounce. And that's the answer that I've been giving to most of the readings that I've gotten for the last 30 years. But
I remember one.
Right. Hillary's
remember one reading that I gave where the cards were like, you are going to get back together. Yeah. And I'm just like, I never see this. Like I said it to them. I was just like, listen, I never see these cards come up for this question. So I'm going to this is the anomaly. But I guess it's not as much of an anomaly as I previously thought with my bias. If you're saying the statistic is 50-50.
50%. Now, 50% of the people probably aren't. Okay, when you've gotten to the point where you're coming to a tarot reader to ask about this question, generally, that means this isn't going so swimmingly. The answer, the research showed that like the reason it's about 50% is that a lot of couples break up over like ambivalent reasons, or reasons they're ambivalent about is probably the correct English. And they sort of like, it's a reaction breakup to something and they don't mean it, and then they are together. And so there, a lot of the time, I'm going to say more than 50% of the time, the people coming to us for that question are not going to get back with them, but they do, in your case, they get back together. And if we can't, I don't know. There's also like, there's sometimes the cards have advice that you'd rather not give a person if they asked for your opinion. So like in the book I talk about, I was reading for someone who's buying a house and the Seven of Swords came up, and I said like, oh, there seems to be some deception happening here. And they said, oh no, that's me. I'm going to lie about my finances. And the reading was like, that's the right answer. I mean, they're still in the house. They're still in the house to this day. It worked out. But that's not advice I would give you if you asked me, but that is the advice of the cards. And like, it's so hard to separate those things, even especially if you've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah. Right. I had a friend of mine who is also a card reader who's poly and wanted to know about the situation in the relationships. And, I'm laying out cards and it clearly spelled out, literally, many of us has seen that, the gif of the dump him or dump them spelled out with the cards. And this was one of those situations, but I read for the cards, and half the time I didn't. I just looked down. I'm like, you see this image? how does this make you feel? Sometimes you don't even need, it's what is in the cards our clients will see. And it's sometimes it's us to determine. A lot of my readings are body language, like, ooh, I don't like this card. Well, why not? What's going on to make you feel like this card, maybe the Fool, is a bad card for you? What's going on there? Because I can tell you the dictionary definitions. I can tell you what my good friend Charles Harrington says about the cards, because the Fool, he's got a whole page or two on the Fool in his book.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's what are they picking up? And that's the beauty of of other different styles of readings. It's you see those reactions,
There's
or
this
or you don't.
technique I recommend. I've done in workshops, but when you're doing a reading, it's very important for yourself. Shuffle the deck, put all the cards face down, and just sit with it and think, what are all of the things this could tell me? What's my reaction to each of those things? So like one, like it's going to go exactly the way that I want. It's going to go the worst possible way. It's going to something else. This is going to shift. I have been correct about. You have to sit there and think of all of those things and get it all out of your system, and then flip over the cards so that you're going in knowing what matters to you and what you're looking for, and you're also you're preparing yourself for what's about to come, and it helps kind of flush through that bias experience. Like bias is not evil; it is something we all have, and it's just a way to face that is to face down.
And that is very thoughtful advice by the author of Tarot and Oracle readings.
That's very kind of you.
Cha-ching. Well, no, it's true. I mean,
you had one more thing to share with us, Charles, besides your Oracle deck.
Yes, what's coming up?
I got a couple things, but I do want to say one more fun fact about Tarot Oracle card reading for dummies. It was written on Elvira's desk. The most irresponsible purchase of my entire life was when Cassandra Peterson had a huge auction in Hollywood, and she auctioned off her first dress, all these props, all this stuff. One of the things is this 1800s Gothic looking, big, heavy, spooky deck, and I own that now. And
okay, we need to see this. Are you at it right now?
What's happening?
It's a little messy. All right,
just shove everything off.
Okay, here we go.
I'm curious. Yeah.
Can you see it? There's Elvira's desk right there, and all the messy nonsense I've got going on.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway.
That's an author's desk. That is
yes, it did. The screen.
That is a working author's desk. Whoop.
I seem to have lost you.
No, we are here.
No.
We're here. Yeah, there you go.
We aim too high.
That was you call it irresponsible, but no, you are preserving history there, my friend. You are preserving it.
She wrote Mistress of the Dark and Elvira's Haunted Hills and her shows and her biography, which is amazing. Read her autobiography on that desk, and her hustle energy is in it. I mean, her life is the story of hustle, and that energy is in the desk, and so that was on there. And another thing I wrote on that was the tarot calendar for 2020. What's next year? Six. Yeah. So it's for each month has either a mini essay or a fun spread to try for that month, along with a beautiful tarot card image. So that's all. You really do need to buy one of these, because if you don't, you might miss some of your appointments.
Well, and
well, and
they're great. I like what you did there.
Yes. And of course,
to divine it. Yep.
And with the spooky season on the horizon, it's already the Halloween stuff is already out in Michael's. Tarot of the Vampires is still a thing by me. That it's not new, but it's real good.
Really creepy. I like it.
It's fun. I got to play with some different techniques. Okay, the one little fun fact. So people hate non-reversible cards, and the backs of the Vampires deck are quote unquote non-reversible, but that was actually intentional. The roses in the deck represent vampires and the immortals and their power, and humans are lilies. They're vulnerable, they're sensitive. So when you shuffle the cards and they're laid out in front of you, if you have a bunch of lilies, it's intentionally, there's not this ethical, intentionally instilling a sense of fear for the reader so that they can prepare to be a little vulnerable.
It's also like more humatic. It's more of a human perspective of the reading. One of the techniques I used to do back when I was able to let people handle the cards, aka pre-pandemic, is that I'd have them cut into 3 piles. And the leftmost side was past, the centermost side was present, and the rightmost side was future. And I looked at the piles and saw how tall or how big they were. And I could kind of maybe guess, or I used that as an estimate or a test to see where my client's mode was. Are they looking at the past still? Are they, you know, focused on the here and now or in the future?
Yeah. Oh my God. Guys, my friends are so smart.
It's called playing. See, I call it playing with the cards for a reason. You know, again, that could be a bias in me, or it could be an actual divination, you know, tool or technique that you use even, you know, with all your toys, you know, charms or whatever, you know, stuff, you know, falls in certain ways. But it's just fun things that we do to keep our minds fresh, I think, you know.
And my last thing coming out is, absolutely, I do agree. It is, because if you don't do that kind of stuff, that kind of exercise, you're going to just be like, this is the meaning of the card. It is this. This is, you know, this is like, how do you play with it? The Odyssey Oracle, here's some fun images. There's Odysseus tied to the mast. It's a very action adventure. Paulo Barbieri did the art. There's that new movie coming out of the version of the Odyssey. Here's Circe, and she's looking quite
Don't make me change my lifelong stance on oracles, Charles. Come on.
Yeah, you know,
if it's anyone, it's going to be you. Come on.
Tasty. It's okay. It's a fun way to play with the that story.
Yes.
And it has its biases towards action, adventure, and slaughtering your enemies. So if that, I mean, there you get. There's the all of the suitors being annihilated. So if that's the kind of message you want to get before you have to go into a tough meeting, the Odyssey Oracle is
so
available.
I'm pointing this way because on my screen, Melissa is towards this way, and I can see that for her. But what I also love about this, you know, which is my mind just completely fills, is if you have love for story and divination are intrinsically tied together. As Teresa says in her tagline, you know, the cards tell a story, you write the ending. Rachel also was fond of saying, you know, everything is story, you know. And, you know, here's a great example of, you know, a story that was written millennia ago. But, you know, you have a story that's now an oracle deck. So how would you tie those two together? You know, it's another fandom, but an oracle rather than certain companies that publish fandom decks that constantly disappoint us over and over and over again.
If
you can ask yourself, am I the Cyclops?
We were discussing things prior to hitting record and going live. So
I made a really good joke when I was muted. I said no one was the Cyclops.
No one was the Cyclops.
Yeah.
All the Odyssey readers are laughing right now, and nobody was.
God, I unmuted myself. What would you have done without me?
We would just like let you, you know, babble along to nothing, and everybody in the live would just watch you talk and not hear anything.
The mouth is moving, but no sounds are coming out.
All right, are we wrapping up, folks?
Come in, let's land the plane.
I guess so. Yeah, no, we're not going to piss her off. She knows about, like, you know, interviews and stuff. But no, we thank you.
I thank
Charles,
you
for joining us. Thank you for telling us about your new deck, your new book, Tarot and Oracle card reading for dummies.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing the Odyssey.
Thank you for adding your personal credence to what is a really helpful tool, because I think that it will end some of the gatekeeping comments that keep people away from really valuable tools. So well done.
Yes,
Thank you so much,
such as the Dummies series in general. Helpful tool. We're not saying you're a dummy.
That's awesome.
No. Folks, there are reasons why books, you know, beginners books have things like dummies or idiots on it. It does not mean that you are implied. It means that is just a time-tested group of books that have come out.
I'm often a dummy. In many spheres of my life, I'm a dummy and I need a little extra help.
We all are.
In a straightforward way.
You know, if you want, you can call this, you know, for fools. tarot and oracle card reading for
fools.
The fool card is not foolish, guys. Keep that in mind. Shannon is saying in the chat, thank you, Charles. I cannot wait to get this book.
Thank you, Shannon.
Hey,
Act now. Operators are standing by.
Call now, type now, go to your local Barnes and Noble or Powell's if you're in the Pac Northwest.
Or an independent bookstore of your choosing, or your library if you're a library person.
Our bookshop.
Request it.
Yes.
Or a bookshop.
Call your library and give them the ISBN, which you could find on Shmamazon. You can use that ISBN to order it through the library system, and then Charles will sell more books.
There we go.
I will give that ISBN right now for all of us listening on the podcast, 978-1394-329977.
Yep. So there you go.
There we go.
Yeah. Enjoy it, everybody. And thank you so much for coming on. This has been a lot of fun. It's like the past where in my previous podcasting, I used to be a host on a podcast called Tarot Visions, which Charles started with our friend, Rose Red Robinson. And then we said goodbye to him and I took over his spot, but we've had him on in the past. So I'll put some links to those past episodes where we talk about some of his other projects like Terror of the Vampires and other decks and stuff. And
oh, golly.
Am I going to see you in September?
I'd like to be at Newt's this year. I'd really like to be at Newt's. So I think maybe we'll kibitz there. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll totally talk. But
thank you, honey.
Other than that,
thank you, my loves. Genuine pleasure to finally go from listener to guest. So back to listener.